Only Ares had yet to return to the gallery of the gods. There the others feasted and downed jugs of mead and sent lightning bolts careening across the sky. Zeus's laughter thundered, and Dionysus poured the table another flask. Then the clouds parted, and the sunlight shimmered, and the last of the family entered. Ares, eyes hollow and face horrified, a 1,000-yard stare, as the mortals might say.
"Join us, brother,"
Aphrodite cooed, hoisting a jug towards him and batting her eyes. They were jovial, the lot of them, apart from the god of war, who had just joined them. Unusually jovial, given the conflicts that plagued their fickle relationships. He shook his head and stomped an armored boot. The harpist fell silent, and the laughter died down. Eyes turned towards him, awaiting what destruction his words might wreak upon the fragile peace.
"We've brought about the end times,"
he said simply, and then he collapsed into a chair dutifully pushed behind him. Together, Aphrodite and Artemis rushed to his side. Zeus stared cynically, and then he chuckled darkly.
"End of times, boy."
He growled.
"Explain yourself before we send you the way of the bastards."
The cursed bastards, he didn't need to say. Cepheus and his kind with tasks befitting the cursed.
"The end of times for us, or the end of times for..."
Zeus nodded towards the mortal world, and when Ares took a moment to respond, he finally furrowed his brow and stroked his flowing white beard. Ares shrugged to a cacophony of armor scraping on armor.
"Both, I figure.
He remarked.
Men will bring about the end of men."
"As the oracle has told them."
Hermes snarked. Ares shot him a dark glare, and the impish god fell silent.
"They will also bring about the end of us."
Ares finished. A gloved hand made a sweeping gesture that encompassed every single one of them in the room.
"How so?"
Zeus asked. He seemed amused still, his eyes sparkling mischievously as he humored Ares's musings. Again Ares shrugged, and Aphrodite flinched at the sound and moved away.
"Something.
Ares said vaguely.
The whole city. Larger than Athens, Sparta, both together even. Wiped out in a moment."
Now Zeus leaned forwards, brushing away the woman clinging to his bulging arms.
"A whole city?"
He asked. Only a wayward lightning bolt dispatched by his own hand would have that power. But each time he threw one, he caught it, at least on this day. Ares nodded, and Zeus stood. Crumbs from the feast fell from his lap. The others backed away, wary of his wrath.
"Show me,"
he growled. The festivities didn't pick up again when the clouds closed behind Zeus and Ares. Instead, the suddenly apprehensive gods stared at each other in concern, guessing how long it would be before the demise began. Or perhaps it had already begun, and unbeknownst to them, their absence had heralded an age when gods no longer wielded more power than mortals.
"Utter devastation,"
Ares said simply when they stepped down into the wreckage of the city, the remnants of an island empire, not unlike that which had ruled over the Aegean islands long ago. Zeus looked around in awe.
"Flatter than Hera's
He paused when he remembered his company. Ares said nothing in response, but towed a piece of wreckage to reveal the limbs of a dozen dead.
"Mortals did this."
"Mortals did this,"
Ares confirmed. He stared at the king of the gods, seeking his guidance but knowing it was beyond the both of them.
"But..."
Zeus interrupted, ever the optimist if optimism was paired with laziness.
"What they have done in 3,000 years, I can do in a moment."
He nodded towards his lightning bolt, but Ares shook his head.
"Come,"
he directed, leading Zeus past the epicenter of the destruction. Further out, flattened buildings took shape again, and signs of life stirred. A stream of injured marched by, large slows of skin falling off their bodies. Their eyes were empty, and some dropped as they walked. Emaciated corpses, stumbling as they evacuated.
You can do that.
Ares acknowledged, pointing back towards the flattened part of the city. Then he gestured at the rotting living, and at the way flecks of his own skin peeled off and fluttered to the ground.
But they can do this.